Who's got a dessert they're eating? Anyone? Corolla? Oh, good. Corolla?
I'll move here just so.
Oh,
Rice pudding.
Ooh,
rice
that's
pudding,
good.
nice. Does it have any
Ooh.
Indian spices in it or anything like that?
Just cinnamon and raisins.
Ooh, sounds
That
good.
sounds
Okay,
great.
yeah, that does sound good.
And cardamom would be good in it.
Cardamom would be good, but I didn't have any.
Mhm.
Right.
Behringers, did you raise your hand? Are you having something?
Ooh.
Punjabi.
Oh,
These are cookies that were sent to us by our daughter-in-law's parents, who are, of course, Indian. She's Indian.
cool.
And so we get these wonderful things sent to us regularly.
Oh, that's wonderful.
that
nice.
is nice. So you have a family member from India. That's good. Okay, that'll be helpful to the discussion.
Yeah.
Jack,
Is
I
the
know-
object
Hmm?
with the elephant, is that Indian?
It's
Behind
Thai.
Yeah, this is Thai.
That's Thai. Okay.
Yeah, we had a Thailand exchange student a number of years ago, and
Oh,
her
neat.
family sent that to us. Because I saw it in their Zoom, and I said, "Oh, is that lovely?" Blah 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 blah. And pretty soon, here it was in the mail. They sent it to us.
Oh,
She
That's
didn't said anything.
Be careful.
So
what
they
you
sent
do.
the very
visited-
one? They took it off the wall for you?
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
sure that's the same one.
Have you visited India?
No, they're planning a wedding next year in the States, and then after that, they're going to have another one in India.
Right.
And we've been invited to that, but we don't think we want to go.
We have similar fears to you.
Yeah.
That's okay, see Paris and die or whatever.
Well, I just hope the movie didn't persuade you not to go, but
I think it looks kind of interesting.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
I-
it is
I'm torn.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Our son has been, and we hear stories about like, don't go to Subway. You might think that's safe, but if you eat like the lettuce, then
Oh.
you get sick. So
Oh my.
That's what they tell you in
avoid
Mexico.
any fruits or vegetables of any sort. And
He survived his first trip there without getting
Yeah.
sick.
Wow.
but he was super careful what he ate.
Yeah, they were very careful with him.
Wow.
That's great.
Anybody
You've
else enjoying a
ignored-
dessert they want to share? Jack,
Yeah.
you're
Yes.
muted.
I took a shot at Indian desserts, which was the kind of toughest one I've done so far. And what I made was this, which is sandesh, which is Bengali. And it's probably a little too moist. I didn't wring it out, but what it is, it's delicious. But what it is you have to separate milk fats and milk solids from whole milk by adding lemon or vinegar or whatever, washing it out. And it's that mixed with sugar. And I have little pistachio on top. It's very tasty, but it probably shouldn't be quite as moist. And then the other thing I made, which is like an Indian funnel cake,
Oh,
it's
fun.
called jalebi, and it's a fermented batter that fermented over 18 to 24 hours, and then is fried and dipped in sugar and basically a sugar-based thing. So it's really, really sweet. And the thing that was kind of interesting to me is, and there's got to be 30 or 40 culinary traditions in India. But the thing that's interesting is they're very sweet. And that's usually an American thing.
Right.
And yet these are filled with sugar and stuff.
Well, you saw the guy putting sugar in his coffee or
Yeah.
in whatever he was
Or
drinking.
4 teaspoons. Yeah.
Yeah, but coffee, in almost every country I've been to, coffee is either drank totally black or with so much sugar and cream, it's like, not even, it's more than a latte. But desserts, I mean, I've been to countries where desserts are soup and desserts are vegetables and, and even in Europe, chocolate isn't as sweet. So it just surprised me, but I'm sure there's other Indian desserts that aren't like this, but these are actually pretty good and very
Yeah.
sweet.
Tasty.
And so that's what it is.
I'm eating gelato.
Delicious.
This was a 3-layer gelato, which
Ooh.
is now down here.
Must have been good, Karen.
What?
It must have been delicious.
It's butterscotch and chocolate trifle with some Mediterranean salts in it. It's very
Wow.
good.
Mm,
Wow.
that
That
sounds
sounds
good.
delicious. Well, whoever is willing to share their recipes with us, please email me and we will combine all those and send them out tomorrow or the next day as you have a chance. That would be great. So
Mhm.
Sharon asked the question. I just want to reiterate, has anyone been to India? Anyone here in the room been to India? Okay. Well, I'm going to show you, just to start off our discussion, I found some clips from this funny little analysis of the movie, which is a little bit odd, but they have some good clips. This is the first, well, it's not the first scene. It's the first India scene when he arrives at the airport. And I'm going to ask you what experiences you've had in that sort of in that sort of disorienting feeling of landing in a foreign country
Mhm.
and coming into an airport
Where you don't speak the language.
where you don't speak the language and hopefully no one calls you Mr. Toad. Here we go. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Can you guys see it?
Mr. Toad. How did we get from the airport?
Yeah, I can't hear it.
They picked us up. Who did? Who did? Who picked us up? We landed back up.
Is there sound with it, Kathy?
I love this.
Cool cab.
Okay, oops, sorry. So the clip doesn't go on to show the contraption he actually gets in, not the cool cab. But who wants to tell about their first experience? That was okay, Georgia.
I'll tell about Thailand. We landed in Thailand and we'd been in Japan over, several hours and then went from Japan or from Tokyo to Bangkok and then finally to Chiang Mai. So we got up in the morning. It was dark and we went to bed. We got up in the morning and I thought, I don't think I can read that stuff. So I went and got my glasses up and I put my glasses on and I still couldn't read it because their language is like N's and U's and H's. I mean, it's completely different.
Yeah, completely different lettering.
And we went with a group of people from Grinnell College, and a couple lived in Chiang Mai that had gone on a 5th year abroad. So they really helped us. And when he got in, when he kept having offers and then lower, or higher.
Yeah.
She told us one day we were on our own and I can't remember, is it a rickshaw? We got in something and they rode a bicycle in front of it.
Mhm.
She told us absolutely what we could pay. She said, don't go any higher. So they did it for what we, bargained for because she'd helped us. But otherwise we would have been like him, we didn't know what it should cost
Yeah.
kind of thing. So that's all. We had a good time, but it was, we couldn't read or speak the language.
Anybody else? Has anyone done it alone? That's what I think would be Corolla. Of course you have.
Well, I went to South Korea and actually I was in Taiwan, but there I had people, family. And then I went to South Korea, which is just a short flight, 2 hours or so. And when I arrived, there was nobody at the airport. I was supposed to meet a friend, a former exchange student, at a hotel because she couldn't be there earlier. And it was about 5 PM, and she couldn't be there until 9. And
Oh.
all I had
Oh.
was the direction of the hotel. And I got off the subway and probably not in the right place. And I stood there. It was Friday afternoon, 5 o'clock, after 5. 12 million people trying to get home from work, not interested in a lonely American or German standing there. And they could care less. I mean, they're otherwise friendly, but I was just 1 in 12 million there. And
Wow.
in Seoul. And I did finally was able to, I mean, if I talked to some people, they said they didn't speak English. And I finally had 2 girls, 2 teenage girls that stopped, and they tried to help me. And we found a taxi, and we were able to tell him which hotel I needed to be at. And he took me there. And yeah, I arrived.
And you made it.
Yeah.
How nerve-wracking, though.
Yeah.
Geez.
Oh,
Anybody else?
We went on a trip to Jamaica one time, and I was with a mission group that we were going, and there was supposed to be a group of people who would be there to meet us. But as we came through, having gone through customs, there was a big wire fence, and there were people just lined up face to face, body to body. It looked like just thousands behind that fence. And we knew that there were riots going on at that time, but certainly didn't expect it there. And I was just sure we were walking into the middle of a riot. Well, finally, someone said, turn around. And there was a boxing match on this big screen TV.
Oh.
And they're all crowding and pushing each other and everything to watch that. But coming out of customs, you know, it's that sort of bewildering thing of where everybody else seems to know where they're going and everything. And then this huge crowd of people that we didn't anticipate. So I think it's the disorientation of sometimes it's language, sometimes it's the place.
Yeah.
You know, and you feel like the other, you know, often right now when refugees are describing how they feel, they say, no matter where I am, I feel like I'm the other. And it's kind of that experience because I was the other.
Yeah, you were. Jack? You're muted, Jack.
Muted.
Opposite feeling of almost everybody who's talked. And I've traveled a lot. Admittedly, it's probably not as much as Sharon, but I've been to about 25 countries, and I've traveled a lot for business. And I have to thank the fact that when I was 17, my dad took me along with him, my brother and I with him on a business trip to Europe, and we went to quite a few countries. And for personal and business reasons, I've flown a lot. So I've found just the opposite. I'm pretty comfortable in almost any airport anywhere because airports are very similar if you've been to a lot of them. And I can always find the exit, the taxi line, the bathroom. I also learned very early in my business to prepare for a trip, and it is much harder in Asia than it is in South America or Europe,
Right.
because of the languages. But in China and Hong Kong and Taiwan, I was generally pretty comfortable. But the language thing is kind of interesting that people mentioned because I had an unusual experience. The agent, the people who worked for us who were from Taiwan were with us in China, and he spoke Taiwanese, which is pretty close to Mandarin, I guess. And we were working with a factory more towards central China. In those days, the factories were nearer the borders. You couldn't go as far in, but this one was farther north. And the person there spoke the regional dialect, and the language written was almost identical. But the language spoken was so different that my partner and this factory owner spoke in broken English because it was the most common language they had in China, which was kind of a very interesting language experience than that. I also travel with like things written down. I would never leave a hotel without my destination and the hotel written out on a card in Chinese, because I had a friend who tried to speak Chinese, and just from dialect, just from inflection, the cab was going the wrong way, and he didn't know enough to tell him to turn around.
Yeah.
He actually had to yell and scream till he stopped the car and got off and walked back. So, you know, and as a businessman, I guess you have some advantages in just, you know, when you're completely, but I've been to a lot of countries on my own, but I've had, quite honestly, very good experiences. I would love to go to India. I'm not terribly afraid of seeing poverty or food, or, you know, I mean, I drank the water in Brazil. I've had friends from Brazil who got sick from the water in the United States because the bacteria is different. So, you know, yeah, I'm kind of the antithesis of the ugly American, so to speak. I really have traveled enough with people, foreign people, and whatever, that I really give things a big, broad, but I eat almost anything, and I'm not terribly automatically afraid of things, and it just has worked out for me. Might have gotten killed sometime, I don't know, but I mean, it's just worked out for me. I'm not recommending that, it's just worked for me.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. I'm going to play another clip. This is this is a scene where, oh, did I just share?
He's
You're trying to.
eats the ice cream or the ice.
Oh, he's eating.
I'm not
Eating or drinking.
Oh dear. Let me see here.
You are sharing, but not the clip.
Yeah. Now can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. This is, speaking of the food, where he goes, he's dropping the food over the wall.
Oh.
And he discovers, you know, the world in that he has yet to see, the poverty on the other side. I'm going to get right there. Okay.
So did anyone else wonder what happened to the dishes?
Yes,
Yeah.
I definitely
Yes.
wondered that.
Yeah.
Isn't that guest house going to run out of China after a while?
Exactly. That's what I worried
I
about.
thought that too.
Well,
Every
and
woman,
did the
woman
family
knew that.
keep the dishes, you know?
I
Maybe.
wouldn't be surprised if they wouldn't put them back on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought they might, but at some other time, and we just didn't happen to see that. But I think they'd keep the tray for that, doing that. I don't know.
Yeah, I assume that they delivered the dishes later. The way you
Yeah, there's quite a few.
deliver
There's
laundry.
It wasn't clear to me whether were they just poor or were they of the was that
Like a
lower caste,
lower
where they're
caste.
the untouchables, or if there was something else going on.
Can you all hear the sound, by the way?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
I think that it's just poverty, because although in reality it's not gone, politically the caste system has been
Right.
gotten rid of. So they may treat people lesser, but they can't, you know, segregate them completely anymore.
That was a huge laundry operation that they had going down there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
you could take your bath and your shower. down there if you wanted to.
Mhm.
Oh, I did it again. Now that I know that you, let's see, hold on. Let me try it. Now that I know that you can't hear the sound, I'm going to go ahead and let that, well, no, I'm not. What is happening? I guess I have to go back to this every time. Okay. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's good. That's a good scene too, but I'm going to wait on that one a little bit.
I also did think that for someone who didn't want to be deceptive, she could lie very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that the hypocrisy of don't touch me in public, but fornicate with me in private, I thought was a bit disturbing.
People will talk.
That's right. Societal norms, men and women are segregated. Don't show public displays of affection.
Yeah, this is quite the laundry operation.
Mhm.
Why did he take him home to his family?
So
I
they
don't know
could
why he
maybe,
did, but he's wanted to show hospitality in
Yeah.
I
learn
think
his
he was
hospitality.
repaying him
They
for
were
the
paying him back.
generosity of the food. Yeah.
Yeah,
he was
that
paying
was
him
my
back.
thought too.
And it also segued for him to know that he could hook up anything electric.
Exactly.
Although, since he's just putting the tray up over the wall, I'm not sure how he was supposed to know that it's this guy who is putting the food up, because, you know, the other woman did it as well. So anyway,
I just thought it was a routine service of cleaning.
that's part of the plot.
I think this is a way of showing the back alley.
How they live.
Yeah.
Well, at one point he did peek over the fence and he saw the guy in the yellow shirt looking at
Yes.
him. So,
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
yeah, so now he gets the hard-boiled egg and I love the naan, what they cook the naan on.
Oh,
yes.
and it's branded.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
Volkswagen.
Volkswagen
Volkswagen hubcap.
Yeah,
It was
Yeah.
it was a
I
Volkswagen
love
hubcap.
that.
Expensive, that's quite a thing. Yeah.
I could eat that.
Yeah.
You
Eggs
could?
are, eggs are
You'd be
always
fine
good.
with that.
Yeah, no, I'm not as.
But
Jack,
this
I'm
was
not
what
as-
he noticed.
I'm not as.
This was
I'm-
great. I love the foreshadowing. I mean, I didn't see
Yeah.
that coming at all at the end.
I didn't either, but made sense.
But
Mhm.
lots of countries, I don't know if you've noticed when you're traveling, a lot of countries do have those overhead wires.
Mhm.
And even in San Francisco, you used to see, like on Fillmore Street, they'd have this tangle and you could see that some people were hooking up illegally into it. I mean, it just, it was like a jungle.
You see that in Chicago
Yep,
when you walk the alleys.
right.
Yeah.
My girlfriend was a potter and she couldn't afford with her electric bill to pay the electric bill. So I think that she had a little manipulation there.
Well, and I don't know if some of you I know Peter Lucky, who was the minister at Plymouth for a long
Yeah.
time, but he did a trip to India to stay with one of the churches there in South India. But his memory was that when you were on your computer at these computer cafes, you had to constantly save what you were doing because the power outages were like literally every 15 minutes.
Exactly.
And described the wiring like it was shown in the movie. That was his biggest, sort of takeaway. It's always save your stuff.
Vanuatu. I was in Vanuatu, which is close to Fiji. And when we arrived, we had a friend living in a town and she had made reservations, and the hotel, or I don't know what it was called, was all full because there was a conference in this town. But they had a little hut kind of outside of their compound, and my daughter and I could stay there. And we went in and we had to clean it out a little bit, but they gave us a broom and we swept, and there were beds in there and clean bedding. But there was no electricity. There were light bulbs, but there was no electricity. So we asked about it, and I said, oh, we'll fix that. And so a few minutes later, the light was on. They had the electric wire, the cable that went from the main house to this hut. They were drying their clothes on it.
Oh.
And evidently they knew enough to turn the electricity off before they hung the clothes on it.
Yeah, water.
So after they had taken their clothes off, and then they could turn it back on, and we had light.
I will say the scene where he eats their food is pretty interesting, because sharing food and eating what they eat is something that I find in traveling is very important and really highly respected. I would go to a factory in China and they, should we go out to lunch? And I said, no, and we'd eat in the cafeteria, and I ate what they ate. And it really counted for a lot. And, it's not killing them. So it's probably not going to kill me.
Right.
And there is a spice situation that might be an interest, but generally speaking, I was eating rice and vegetables.
But I have to say that I think we even had a lot more of that in our own country when I was a kid. I mean, someone would come over and you'd make sure that there was some food. Or
Right.
give them something. Now you can't even get a glass of water sometimes when you go.
Right, the first thing.
My kids' age.
Our own kids.
No, the first thing you always ask is, or we would say, can we get you something? Do you want something to drink, something to eat? That's just so basic in terms of breaking bread. And Jack, I'm really not a wimp.
I'm not pointing. She is. I'm not pointing.
I have eaten things that would horrify you.
Yeah.
But,
I make a practice not to ask, just to eat generally.
Right,
And-
absolutely. And breaking bread is such a fundamental,
Yes.
important trust building. Plus, I love to eat. It's just India. India gives me the screaming willies. That's all. It's the one country that
And
just
it's,
does.
it's understandable. I spent a lot of time in Brazil, and the favelas there are,
Although, yes.
certain areas are pretty horrific.
Well, drug lords run a lot of the favelas. I'm surprised you were okay, Jack.
But the people who live there are like phenomenally wonderful people.
We're also seeing a movie. We're not smelling a movie either. I mean, I'm sure there were odors that would have been a lot harder for us.
When you have cattle around that are walking the streets all the time, it's smelling like poop.
Well, speaking of poop, and I didn't really want to bring this up, but it's
Left hand,
it begs
right
the-
hand.
the left hand,
Oh,
right
God.
hand scene. It struck me as having hosted one exchange not exchange student, but way back in the day, I hosted a TV journalist from what's our sister city? I'm blanking. In Japan.
Boise.
Oh, Hiratsuka.
Hiratsuka, Miki Murakami, who came to stay with us for about 2 or 3 days. And during that scene, when the woman is saying, oh, you never eat with your, right or left hand. And I was thinking, I would never say something like that to somebody who is in my home. And, I would never correct, in other words.
But that's so gross. I mean, that is a long-standing kind of thing about left hand, is what you wipe your bottom with it, and therefore you don't shake hands with that hand, or you don't. That's just so basically repulsive. They would have to warn him.
So they were warning
immediately.
him. They were
But that
warning
would
him.
be, that's something I wondered about though, because if he's going to India, don't you think he would have looked up some few basic customs of
We
the
would hope
country?
so.
But I
And
don't-
that one
I
in
don't think they gave
particular
him
would be
time.
something he would
No.
know.
I don't either. I don't
Yeah.
think he had time, and I think he was.
Right, I don't
mad
think he
that
was
had to go.
prepared. Right.
And he
I don't think
didn't
was
want to
prepared.
go there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think he was sent there to recreate America, United States of America.
Yeah. I think in answer to Kathy's question, there's a big difference between touring and visiting and staying over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
if you're going to be there for a while, you want them to tell you those things because
Absolutely.
you want to become a citizen. The country I spent the most time in was Brazil. I never lived there, but I traveled there over 20 years, as little as 1 week a month and as much as every other week.
Mm,
So my clothes were down. I was virtually living down there. And you want to become one with them. My Brazilian partners told me after a couple of years, they said to the two of us who are American, we speak Portuguese and we speak English. When customers are down here or we're in the United States, we'll speak English. But when there's no customers here, we're going to speak Portuguese. You're going to either have to pick it up or be ignored because it's tiring
Yeah.
to
yes.
speak in a foreign language.
Mhm.
And I, in a very rough way, learned it, but I wanted to be part of their country. That was the point. My relationships with a factory or a vendor would have to be the same as theirs. So it's important that he knows those things because he's not there for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
He's there for
Right.
a long period of time.
And also, Jack, it is so subtle. When I lived in Italy, for example, I was going to someone's house. I wanted to pick up flowers. And I was warned, don't bring chrysanthemums, even though that was the time of year. Only chrysanthemums are only brought to the cemetery to lay on graves. I would not have known that. And I tried to study, the usual things about customs and things like that.
I had an
It can be
experience
very
when I was,
subtle. And by the way, you never blend completely. I remember being in Latin America and feeling very proud that I was really notching into everything. And I turned to the man, and we were at a underground market, and I asked, because I had dark hair and all the rest, I said, do you think they know, that I'm American? And he and the flower lady practically wet themselves laughing.
Georgia?
oh, I was gonna say, when I was about 20, I think, I did something called Experiment in International Living, and I went to Belgium.
Mm.
But I had heard this story about a student that had gone to Greece, and they gave them a few fish eyes to eat, and he forced those all down. And of course, the next day he got more eyes to eat.
Oh,
So
God.
in
Parents.
Belgium, the mother said, you do like steak tartare, right? And she had, raw hamburger to me. I said, no, I really don't eat that, because I pictured getting more and more if I ate
Yeah.
some. So there's a point where you're going to have to say, this isn't something I can do.
Yeah.
But
I
for
have
the most
I
part,
have a-
I agree that you have to try to blend in and appreciate what they have as much as you
You
can.
have to try
One
it
more,
once. Right.
one more thing. That's what I had my first martini or Manhattans. And they always had soup, huge soup tureen. So I'd have a Manhattan, and then I'd think, I can hardly wait for that soup to be served, because I hadn't had that much alcohol, but I didn't want to say no and be weird. So I
I
just
have
held
a
on.
funny story about
Yeah.
language. My husband and I lived in Norway for a year because he was on a Fulbright there. So I tagged along, and I was we were both learning the language, and I do a lot of needlework. And I got it in my head that I wanted a pair of needlework scissors from Norway. So I went into this needlework shop, which was a lovely place. There were two ladies there. And in my best Norwegian, I asked for a pair of scissors. And these two ladies looked at each other and they just started giggling. And apparently, because of my pronunciation, instead of asking for scissors, I was asking for sex.
Oh.
They knew
Oops.
doing that. though.
Yeah,
They knew
the
that.
little nuances of language, you gotta be so careful.
Yes, yes. I remember in China thinking I was asking him about his mother, and I was asking about a horse because it's tonal, and ma, if you have the tones wrong, it can be dangerous.
I have
Oh,
to
yeah.
say, when we got to the end of the movie, I really wanted a sequel to see how well the couple did when they went to China.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, right.
But I think they would do well because they're so attuned to hospitality and
Right,
fitting
and
in and what
custom.
people will say, that because of custom, I wondered how her marriage turned out.
Yeah.
So I don't, maybe you don't even need to see this one again. I want to talk about, this has happened to me and it happened recently. The experience of the call center. So when you are calling, everyone's had it, right? So in my case, it was a couple of months ago, I switched cell phone carriers. And so I went in to the news carrier's office because I didn't want to try to deal with the call center, only to realize that they have to deal with the call center too. So now it's T-Mobile. It makes it easier if I say it was T-Mobile. So we go in, I go down into the location on 23rd Street thinking, I'll just have human people arrange this for me. And we'll just bypass all the call centers. And I'll just take it there and let them do it. And so it was, honest to God, it was a 2-day process. And I wasn't looking for credit. We were going to put it on the credit card. It was going to be pretty easy. But the call center part, so literally they said, well, you'll have to talk to them because I was porting numbers over from Verizon. It was a whole deal. And there was a call center. There were 2 people I talked where I could not understand a thing.
A bloody word.
Well, just like, I was, some sentences I didn't even get the gist. And I felt terrible about it because I thought, I want to be,
Sensitive.
I want to be sensitive and I don't want to say, so when that scene in the call center, where they were, that very first scene in the call center where the people were saying, you're not from Chicago and, really giving them a hard time.
Oh, yes.
I don't know. I just wonder what your experiences have been and have you felt that frustration? And does this movie make any difference at all?
No. How many times a day do you get a robocall in which the guy from India says his name is Scott?
You don't know. Good.
Ask them where they were from.
I do, and they lie, and I get furious. Furious.
More and more. That's
because-
like the first question I ask.
Oh, they brought
Where are
it
you
to
at?
throw
Where
it.
are
So
you
different.
Gracie, what did you just say? Just so people can hear you.
Can you hear me? Because I'm using new headphones, so
I see.
the mic is. But more and more whenever I get a call, I ask, where are you located? More like for the weather and just kind of a casual thing. And I do get people in the United States, Las Vegas, even had somebody out by Hayes, Kansas. But or more, that's one of the first questions I ask. Where are you located? Where are you at?
Yeah.
So I
I
just
do
wondered.
that, but if you get a person from India, they're not saying, they will sometimes say Los Angeles, and it took 12 minutes or something to connect with them because you've gone to a tech center and they'll say, oh, we'll have you speak to our tech person. And then it's taken 12 minutes to connect with their incredibly complex electrical thing.
Network,
And then someone says, hello, I'm Scott. Well, you're not Scott. And I would like to not be as polite as I am, but my mother's looking over me. So, but I want to stab them actually.
Well, if I get you get a lot of spam calls these these days.
Oh,
And
God.
if I get one that's not a recording, even if I can understand them, I tell them I can't understand them. About
That's
5
good.
times. And I think we're getting less calls as a result of that.
Man, it's a good strategy.
Yeah.
Now the hearing aid dealers will call you.
Oh, there you go.
I get letters.
Tell them
I
you,
get letters.
just tell
from
them you
that.
can't hear them.
My husband would start speaking to them in German. Reckon Sie Deutsch?
Has
I
anybody
worked with a
gotten from call centers from China? Because I literally, I'm on a no-call list, so I get about a dozen calls a day. And they are now calling way too early in the morning and have the gall to call at 10 o'clock at night. And they're all Indian.
I got a call at 1:30 in the morning the other day. 1:30 in the morning.
It's just outrageous.
Terrible.
I worked with a company that had an American call center, but to save money, it was in Florida, South Florida, and they were using immigrants. So the Hispanic accents were, and I speak a little Spanish, but the Hispanic accents were so heavy, I had a better chance of understanding the Indians. It was, and they're like, but we're here in America, but I couldn't even hardly understand them say that. So once again, it's really about cost more than location.
Right.
Although the cultural thing is different, but I had the same problem with an American call center, but it happened to be coming out of South Florida.
Also, when you want to really,
What, Karen, go ahead. Oh,
I'm
sorry.
gonna throw this in there. When you really want to be angry with someone who's calling, sometimes, I have had clients who have worked for call centers when I was a therapist. And, I have to remember that some of those folks are really working hard.
Oh,
And is a human person, and the company's probably taking advantage of it. If I could get hold of the company, I would be angry with the company. But not if they call me at 1 o'clock in the morning or always at lunchtime. Don't you get calls?
That's right. And they start at 3 to 5 because they know people are coming home from school and work and dinner time. Cellular, what is this? The service that's called cellular, I forgot. But they always say people of a certain age. So it's keyed to AARP type folks. One of their selling points is you will always speak to someone in the United States.
Well, along those lines, I'm going to share one last scene, and this is kind of encapsulates the whole, the cost or the value in their minds of outsourcing. And this is sort of it. Let's see, 1948.
Good year.
I thought
This is
was
holy.
there. Oh.
Hello.
Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
I remember this.
Can you hear it?
I understand.
Yeah. No?
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
can hear it.
Because the whole operation was in Mexico. My brother had to leave town because there are no jobs.
I know how you feel, sir.
No, you don't. You have a job.
Sir, please don't hang up. I have a solution for you.
What?
See, we understand that many Americans are upset about outsourcing, so we have located American-made versions of all our products. If you have a pen, I will give you the website of an American company that makes an eagle statue very similar to ours. Same size, same materials, only theirs is made 100% in America.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. But is the price about the same?
No, sir, theirs is $212 more. Sir?
Yeah, all right. Just some of yours.
Thank you, sir. May I have your credit card number?
So
She was really clever.
Yeah.
But
I
that's,
actually felt like I made a friend though. I'm pretty sure this girl was, I think she was in Taiwan or somewhere. She had really good English. And I was trying to think what I bought, but I thought I wanted to say, can you come over for coffee? She was so nice. She was so nice. And, you know, if I made a mistake, she said, oh, no, that's okay. You know, she was just great. So there are some really good people working.
there are.
And trying to
Customer
be your
service,
friend, so to
but
speak.
did you initiate the call or did she?
I did.
That's the difference.
It was
When
the
you're
catalog.
customer calling and it's a catalog company or something else, I find even my pharmacy people, you know, Humana, that they are unfailingly helpful and courteous. When you're the one calling, it is not the same thing when they're calling and interrupting.
Probably right. Yeah, that's probably right. I got a kick out of the cheeseheads because our son-in-law
Oh
is
God.
a cheesehead from Wisconsin. So I knew right away. And it tickled me when several of them bought those.
I thought that, sorry. I thought that scene that Kathy just showed was very interesting because it showed the other side of outsourcing. We're all about American made until we have to pay for something.
Right.
And we want the cheapest item. I found that not just with where it's from, but a lot of things when you have consumer groups and they go, oh, I was in the shoe business. Oh, the most important thing is comfortable. The most important thing is appearance, until you start mentioning price, and then they want to pick the cheapest shoe.
Yeah.
So they're not always honest with you. And in this case, the honesty of I want the cheapest price came through. And that's a very interesting other side of this story here that I thought was well worth including.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Makes you think though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No,
Kathy,
like,
where did you get those wonderful cheat sheets? I'd love to read what they have to say about the film.
Oh, I'm happy to include the link when I send the recipes out. So everybody, what it is, it's a slideshow, and it's got, I mean, it's kind of a PowerPoint with movie clips inside. It just gives you things to think about, the various stages
I
of the
kind
movie.
of picked up a few and they were very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. So how would you all rate the movie on a scale of 1 to 5 stars?
I liked it.
4.5.
I thought it was
Oh, yeah, at least
It's
about-
good.
at least I
Yeah.
thought it was
Yeah.
It
great.
was good, very believable.
It was fun.
Yeah. Well, Kathleen and Scott picked it out this time.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Right.
we had
But-
seen it a long time ago. They actually made a TV series out of it in 2010, but it only lasted a year. But I liked it. I thought it was a great
Oh,
movie.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
It
We
was
needed something
a
light.
lot of good humor. Yeah. I was a little hoping for a little bit more happier romantic ending, but that was actually probably a better ending than it otherwise would have been.
I think so.
Well, you never know. Set it up for a sequel. So
So in other words, you all are telling me no one's booking a flight to India anytime soon. Is that what I'm saying?
not right now.
Right now.
Did I
Jeff
miss
would go by
No,
himself.
India is still awash with Delta
You
variant.
betcha.
I think
Yeah.
that's where it got
Adequate
going.
healthcare.
So are we.
But our healthcare, you can't even compare it to India.
I thought the ending was with her calling him and possibly was coming into town.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I
Left you hanging. That's good.
None of you found that hypocrisy at all disturbing in today's world of female empowerment? That she lives by the rules of no problem, I'm going to have an arranged
Fine.
marriage, but let's screw around.
I just thought
I
that was
looked on
part
that
of the
as being-
culture. I mean,
I looked on that as being a little like the Amish and their Rumspringer or something like that. That
mhm.
as long as it's,
But she arranged that
what
with her
was important
girlfriend.
was for the parents and for her neighbors and so forth not to know. Obviously, her friends had done something already, and they already had code for it. So
Yeah, it seemed like that the younger generation knew, but that virginity was still a high priority for the parents.
Right.
Was the virginity important or just who you marry? I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
my
Um,
question
I
too.
that
I
was the
think
issue.
that they used to protect women, yes. And there were some horrible bride deaths
Yes.
when
the
the
honor
husband,
killings.
that's
Yeah.
right,
And
when the family thought that the person had sex
Right.
before marriage.
Yeah.
Terrible acid or
Well,
burning oil and
but
murder.
in some cases it wasn't so much sex before marriage, but they had been raped by somebody, and that was enough. That was enough to bring dishonor, which I thought was, you talk about your hypocrisy. That's,
Well, we do
Yeah.
find that in Texas as well.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
But it is hard.
Yeah.
I felt that was a sticking point. I also am terrible romantic and thought it would work out, but I just thought she was real manipulative, and she's very charming, but I just felt uneasy. I'm such a Puritan.
Are.
All right, people.
And with
Is that our final note? I'm such a Puritan.
Well, nobody else felt that way, so they're all hedonists.
Well,
and
not
they just have
necessarily. Not necessarily.
well, she beat a system that was unfair. I think you have to give a certain justification to that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, she did what she could with the system, I kind of felt.
Yeah. She didn't get to pick the guy she wanted to pick.
Yeah.
And I think India is changing. I think there's a great many more unarranged marriage or love matches now. Their divorce rate will rise. Oh, and that also bothered me. You hear that about traditional societies. They'll point and they say, yes, but our system works and we fall in love or not, but you have 50% divorce. If divorce was more allowable in most of those traditional societies, there would be a lot more divorces.
Yeah,
absolutely, because of domestic abuse and a whole lot of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But these women would lose their children and their status in society and would have no home. So I just thought I was uncomfortable with that again.
Okay.
Oh, just a Puritan.
Well, again, if you all have seen any movies on Canopy that you would like to recommend to us as a group, feel free, send them our way. And we'd love to get the recipes by email, if you would, to anybody who wants to share. And I will make a note to send the link to this little cheat sheet I've been using with the clips.
That was really interesting, though. And thank you, Kathy. I think that the reason you may not get suggestions is you're batting 100.
Well, Kathleen and I have, it kind of comes down to the wire because this is a little earlier and it's early in the month. And at one time we were burned makes us just sort of pick kind of late in the game, pick a movie, and kind of depends on a lot of things, luck being one of them.
Yeah.
So appreciate it though.
Yeah,
Women of discernment and class.
I'll take that. Let's end it on that note.
Okay, people, have a great night. And